Well, it's been a while, YouTube. It's been 4 or 5 months. I've been tired lately, been dizzy, all the usual issues. I am engaged now. That's nice. She's all the good things. Both my parents died. That's not good. I don't really like my family. Some of them might be watching this, but I don't know. What did I want to talk about? Do I want to talk about death, my family, my parents, my issues, politics? I don't know. It's just time to make a video. I know the defending champ fan base has just been blowing up the comment section begging for a video. Actually, that's not true. I don't know. I was thinking about some of this politics stuff, about the Israel thing that seems to be a hot topic. Maybe just my algorithm has picked up on it, but it's this thing that people like to talk about. Some people talked about it, mentioned it to me today, which probably is why my mind is there right now. And then the algorithm too, probably listening in on the phone. I think my main thoughts, like a lot of my thoughts when it comes to politics, is just the sort of people not knowing why they think they care about things or not really caring about the things they think they care about. So it's like, if you look at the Israel issue and foreign aid and defense budget, all this stuff is relatively small. Like, the defense budget is like 13% or whatever. Not that that's nothing of the, of the total, whatever. Foreign aid is relatively very small number in the grand scheme of things. And I think it's like foreign aid's like 100 billion a year, and Israel's like 3 to 4 billion. So, which is nothing, right? So, all this sort of concern that now is uniting some aspects of the creepy, the creepy left and the creepy, I don't want to say creepy. Not everyone's creepy. You're not all creepy, but the Nick Fuentes right is sort of finding strange bedfellows with the left, right? And you'll see these like memes on Instagram or whatever where, I don't even know the actor's name, but one of the movies, he's got like multiple personalities, and the girl gets in the car and he's listening to Nazi songs or whatever. And it says something about like when you pick up the girl at the Palestinian rally, and then she, it's sort of like, oh, we're allies. One of the people hates Jews, and one of them's a leftist who supposedly is passionate about the Palestinian people. But yeah, I'm kind of jumping all over the place. But what's interesting about this, just from the right-wing angle, is like the right hasn't suddenly changed who they are, right? The right has always been skeptical, not really so into Jews, right? That there is another example of sort of strange bedfellows, is where it's like, okay, so certain aspects of the right care about Israel because of their Christian mythology, and they see Israel as important to that, even though they really, deep down, they resent Jews for, not all of them, but a lot of them. They don't like Jews in terms of liberal Jews, of course. Sometimes they blame Jews for the killing of Jesus, even though that doesn't really make sense, right? Because that's part of the story, right? That's the whole thing. You needed Jesus to be killed to play out this whole absurd saga of him dying for your sins. So why would you be resentful towards Jews for that? If the Jews did it, you should be thankful, right? Anyway. But yeah, it's this thing now where it's like all the cool cool right-wing people like Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes or whatever, Candace Owens, they don't want to say it, but they're anytime they can, they're really angling for, they're talking about Israel, but also seeing if they can just kind of get the whole like broad Jews thing in there. Like they have their coded language, like they'll list off like 20 people that all happen to be Jewish, and they're, just a coincidence, and who they, people that they have problems with, they're referencing banks or whatever. It's not new, right? It's not new. And then the whole thing about it being a sort of issue for some of these right-wingers, they're like, why do we care about Israel? America first. They don't care about Americans, right? Because if you cared about Americans, you wouldn't be focusing on what such a tiny percentage. Well, let's first dispel the notion that they're like crying over Palestinians. I just don't buy it. These same right-wingers didn't give a shit about, Iraqi children during the Iraq War. And I'm speaking in terms of generalities, but yes, by and large, they weren't crying over Iraqi children. They're not crying now over Palestinian children. And we can talk about that another time. I guess I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on Israel and Palestine, and I'm not here to really debate that. I'm more just talking about the phoniness of the left and right when it comes to this stuff. Particularly right now, the right wing, and they're sort of like, they like to pretend like they care about the Palestinian people or something, when it's really just an angle to be able to kind of say anti, stuff that they don't really like Jews, right? But I will say, yes, I understand being anti-Israel doesn't mean you're anti-Semitic. I understand that that's a tactic that some pro-Israel people use. Like, oh, you're anti-Semitic. That's not true, right? But it is true that oftentimes it goes hand in hand, that is a good sort of, avenue to do that. Just like these other things, like, people who, like people on the right who have issues with trans stuff or whatever, right? It's like they'll use the angle of like, well, we just really care about the children and this and that, the other, when it's really just, you have a sort of dislike towards something, and this is sort of the avenue to go there. But two things can be true at once, right? The sort of thing where it's like a 2-year-old boy can say, I'm a girl, and then, there can be absurdities and contradicting directions, multiple directions. But it's just funny now that it's like they're trying to find alliances where it's not really about mutual love and care for people. It's people aligning based on like, can we find mutual dislike and hatred? So what I was trying to get at though is if they really were, it's about America first, right? And they're really concerned about Americans. These people like Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens and whoever else, they would talk about more. I mean, they might sometimes, I don't know. I don't really watch these people consistently. I've seen some of their stuff here and there, of course, but I know that they're not constantly beating the table about healthcare, right? It's not as sexy. It's not really a typically conservative thing, even though maybe some of them have, shifted a little bit here and there because they're populists and whatever, but not really. They don't really care. What is the American people in general really suffering based on what's happening with some of these foreign affairs? Or are they really suffering, the average American, if they're not getting the treatment they need, right? They can't afford their medication. They're going to go bankrupt if they have to spend too much time in the hospital. They really, even a lot of times wealthy people are making decisions when it comes to their health based on what an insurance company will approve or not approve in terms of medication and treatment and so on. So I don't know if there's obvious solutions to all these things. There's, like anything else, there's people who are have more expertise in this. But if you're really worried about the American people and where our money goes and what we could spend money on, right? This focus on Israel or whatever else, it could be Ukraine, right? Even that, right? Which, I'm pretty sure a lot more money has gone over there in recent years. But whatever the numbers are, it just has nothing to do with, like, the American people aren't suffering based on this tiny fraction of the budget that's spent on some of these things. It's not that you're not entitled to an opinion, But it's just that thing that I've always had frustrating with. It's just like my frustration with woke people. It's just the phony moral outrage. It has nothing to do, none of these things, sadly, maybe this is just my misanthropic tendencies coming out, but I think some of it's based in just a clear observation of reality with human nature, at least humans that I've known or people in this culture. It's just not a thing about empathy and caring about people and all this stuff, right? As usual, it's about whatever sort of political identity makes someone feel like a good person, makes other people maybe respect them, they feel sort of that in-group thing, right? Whatever. Or there's always an appeal, and sort of whether it's being edgy or, if you know about sort of conspiracies that other people don't know about, there's something that feels like it's like a self-satisfying thing. Like I know the real culprit, it's the Jews, So anyway, I don't know if I had much more to say about that. It's just pointing out some of the phoniness. It's not right-wingers suddenly are just full of compassion and care about the children or whatever. And not that I ever believed the left wing really. There's people within these groups, right, that do care about it. But I actually will say, like, on the left, I do think that there probably some of the people could be genuine. On the right, it's really hard to imagine when, for decades, they've prioritized sort of tax breaks for the rich over caring about people being able to afford housing and healthcare and all those things. It's hard to really believe that there are actually, like, authentically, like, bleeding hearts full of empathy on the right. Maybe some positions you go, oh, they really genuinely believe that tax cuts for the rich is what helps everyone be richer or whatever. I don't know. Even if you felt that way, it's really hard to argue against wanting to find a way. Like, to not be passionate about everyone having healthcare, good quality healthcare, to make sure that no matter where you are in the where you are economically, that's not something that anyone should have to worry about, is going broke because they can't afford treatment. If you don't care about that, it's hard for me to really believe that you care just at all about this whole, like, the well-being of society sort of thing. But sadly, I think most people, almost all people, are sort of in it for themselves. Sometimes they extend that to their family, their spouses, maybe their tribe, and so on. But I think more often than not, things tend to be a lot more self-centered than people try to make them appear, particularly when it comes to these big political issues, like that it somehow connects to them really caring about the well-being of society. So yeah, that's why I kind of try to stay away from it. I try to not watch this stuff much, actually. I don't really spend too much time these days watching or debating politics or whatever. I have enough of my own problems. We probably all do. But politics, maybe it's just a good distraction, like sports. But sports, I think, is a little more relaxing. So, gonna go watch some football. And I don't know. Try to take the trash out. I did take some trash out. What am I getting at? I don't know. Is there a message in this video? Maybe you'll get something out of it. I don't really want to debate. Should I put, I don't know, what should I make the title of this video? I don't really want to debate you people. It's like, I wouldn't mind debating people on things in video. I've always said this, but that doesn't happen anymore. There's not like the whole video response thing. So I really don't care about your comments. I might actually just delete them if they're annoying and not even, not even give you sort of the angry response. If your comment is something like, oh, that's just, you're a fucking Jew. You're a fucking... that kind of shit, you know. So maybe I don't even invite those comments by just making the title something bland. It's a catch-22 though, you know. I do like some interaction, but maybe I'm really just looking for people who kind of can relate to what I'm saying about this stuff. I think a lot of us want to talk to people we relate to as opposed to the debating. But I guess a lot of our culture has become sort of like debate culture, right? That's what gets clicks on these videos is so-and-so owns so-and-so. And whether it's a left-wing thing or a right-wing thing, you know, just comments that are kind of just negative and everyone wanting to hate, you know. And I've always advocated for just spreading, you know, try to spread the hate equally to all humans, and then you can truly find inner peace. We're getting cummed on. We're getting cummed on.
There's just too much.
There's too much jizz. There's too much jizz.
Cover your eyes.
Am I getting pregnant?
Yeah. You're already pregnant.
I'm pregnant.